Well, I'm wondering, Art, we think about this. There's only so many ways you can slice a pie, right?
Right.
And I'm just wondering now, because there are so many things where it's a car, it's a phone, your phone that you have to pay for. What's that monthly payment on that? And even though it's a $51,000 car, they've got it worked out. So, for only 400, well, in this case, $800 a month. Is that just one of those things where they've just run out of pieces of the pie to say, I have spread myself so thin that I can't afford to invest in that asset that keeps going up in value, which again ties right back to that whole report you've given us that said, hey, the wealth of somebody who rents versus a buyer is 40 times greater as a property owner versus a renter. It seems like it's all coming together. Or am I just under the art ether?
Well, no. I think that's the rational, reasonable, logical way to look at it. But for whatever, and again, I get worried about, again, coming across as preachy and critical, but everybody's going to live their life the way they want to live it. But I have a hard time where all the headlines are moaning and groaning about how bad the housing market is and interest rates are way too high and I'm being shut out and can't afford a home. All the baby boomers own all the homes. And it's like, well, wait a minute. If you really look at the current conditions, it's not so bad. And so it's really a function of getting folks to kind of change how they're thinking, because I think the conditions are there. And of course, the Zillow article in my mind, again, it was another case of, well, wow, if I've been kind of wondering when to buy, if there's slower price growth, that's good. I'm okay with things moderating for a bit, so I have a chance to maybe get a decent, offer accepted. And yeah, even with these, flattening or even minor declines, that's when, if you see that, you maybe grab onto that. You've got a concession opportunity to be obtained if you recognize that. You've got less competition because, according to Zillow, there's going to be existing home sales are going to slow down because there's not enough buyers jumping in these kind of conditions. So I don't know. But again, in order to do that, you've got to reallocate what the money you've got coming in. I mean, I think I've said before, I mean, I like nice cars as much as anybody, but you got to make a decision about how much of your dollars you want to spend on that kind of asset that's not going to build wealth. It's going to, use up your wealth, as well as what you spend your credit cards on. And, I can start sounding like Dave Ramsey, right? In terms of, how do you best use your credit, but there's some serious things to think about there, about just shift things a little bit and kind of, don't have two $800 car payments, have two $400 car payments, and just, you can still get a pretty nice car for $500 a month instead of 800. I mean, but you got to make some choices there. And for some folks, they're not willing to do that. And that's okay. I totally respect that.